this, welcome to Central Street. I can't remember if anyone was here last time. It's a very nice community cookery school, part of the community centre. And this is Prakash. Is it Nathan or?
Yes.
Nathan. Who's going to be leading our workshop tonight on Sri Lankan cookery. And I'm going to hand over to him because he's the man with everything to say. So maybe tell everyone what the menu is, and then about yourself and what we're going to do.
Right. As Laura introduced me, my name is Prakash London. I had the privilege to meet with her at Anna.
Yes, yeah, of course you can. Yeah.
Anna Kroken.
I know it's the same thing. I don't know.
Surname, the culinary anthropologist. You might have heard of her. So I had the opportunity to do a lesson there, and the privilege to meet Laura. And it all came out from there, and she said, would you like to come and do a session for the fellow journalists? I said, yes, of course. And so here I am. I was born in Sri Lanka. Actually, it was Ceylon. It was called Ceylon. I don't know where it's from.
I'm not from Ceylon, I'm from Kerala.
Kerala, okay, not very far. So yes, okay. There's quite a lot of influence from Kerala, and we'll come back to that in a minute. I was born in the north, so that means there are two communities in Sri Lanka. One is in the north and the northeast, it's Tamils, and the south and the southwest is Sinhalese. I'm married to a Sinhalese. I'm born in the north. You might have read a brief on me how I got into cookery. It's my student days. There was a compulsion to cook. It became a hobby became a business, and here I am. So that's my background, and you all know where this island Sri Lanka is. It's just 22 miles off the coast of South India. So the food influence is very much from there. Of course, it's a spice island. I don't know how many of you have been there. It's a spice island, and they grow quite a lot of spices there. So obviously the food is around the spices. Incidentally, Sri Lanka produces the best cinnamon in the world. I don't know the scientific name, but it's ending up with Silonica. I don't know. Coming back to Kerala, what is it? Pepper. Pepper, it was like it was known as black gold at one point, because all these Westerners and even Easterners, even Chinese, flocked to Kerala, Cochin. I'll keep an eye on this. For pepper. Because pepper was discovered, and it was a new discovery for the West. So generally speaking, the cooking is around these spices. All these spices have medicinal values. So anyway, I'll try to talk as I go along. In the meantime, let me serve some.
Do you want it in a big bowl and then put it on plates?
Yeah, and then they can just try some salt.
Salt. Okay, should I put it on plates? Is this the vegetarian or does this go?
No, this is not. That's good.
That's good. Okay.
So while I'm talking, I'm trying to do some. This dish, incidentally, it's called devil's squid. It's actually not a Sri Lankan food. It's a bar food brought in by the Chinese. There was a Chinese community which came to Sri Lanka, and then so it actually was only served in men's club, because bars those days women were not allowed. So while they're having their beer or whiskey or whatever, they would have this as a nibble. So it's actually pretty much a Chinese dish. I mean, my grandmother wouldn't know what that dish is, or for that matter, my mother, because it has become very fashionable now. So if you were to go to Sri Lanka, you would see this in almost every other hotel in the state. So there are some vegetarians. While I'm talking, I'm doing it. The vegetarian, actually, that is devil's squid. I'm going to do devil's potato. The vegetarians can do that. I'm looking for potato.
Potatoes are over here somewhere.
Right. So the recipes will be sent to you by email. I'm just using ordinary oil. Ordinary sunflower oil actually there. So I'm just going to throw in a little bit of onions there. It cuts it into kind of cube, as a kind of a red onion. If you haven't got red onion, use white onion. Normal onion, there's no harm. So I'm getting that to saute a little bit. Not soft. I'm not trying to make it soft. It's actually a bit funny. Then I got some carrots here. It's again a bite size. When you bite it, I don't want to overcook this.
What chilies did you use in it?
Pardon?
What chilies did you use?
What, is it too hot for you?
But I can feel my face getting warm.
Yeah, this particular red chili is actually from Kashmir. Because the chilies are grown everywhere. Not everywhere, it's grown, I don't know if anybody has given a thought why people in this hot climate eat spicy stuff. One level the other way around. Does anybody know why? Pardon? Yes, and it cools the body. So that's why they drink hot tea, hot coffee. I didn't hear the traditional dish.
What is the main dish now?
In Sri Lanka, as you know, it's an island. So fish when it comes to meat, but plenty of vegetables. Because it's.
I thought it was your breakfast, the egg poppers.
Traditional, yes. Yes, I think.
History like it. I've never seen it anywhere.
Yes. I think it's hoppers, and in my grandmother's time, yes, they had all the time to sit down and have a good breakfast. Yes, hoppers is a traditional Sri Lankan meal in the south. In the north, yes, on a Saturday or Sunday, I would say dosai, idli, vadai.
There's another one that you wrap in some meat. I can't remember now because I was there a long time.
You mean that's the,
What is it called?
you mean the lamprey, isn't it? Right.
That cut different parts along them, little meatballs and fish and seafood and rice. And it's wrapped in a banana leaf.
Banana leaf, wrapped in a banana leaf, they eat on a banana leaf, but wrapped in a banana leaf and put in the oven, it's called the lamprey. That's again got a Dutch influence.
Yeah.
Dutch influence. You see, again, Sri Lanka is, being an island, it has got, lots of foreigners have been there, apart from the natives.
Indonesia in a way.
Pardon?
The Dutch, that dish came from Indonesia originally, I think.
The Dutch.
The Dutch have a big Indonesian
The influence, yes. They first went there for the tall ships, for the mast. And apparently it won't break or something, and that was their main intention of going there, and then they found lots of things. Incidentally, they also have got a name, Sambal, which we have. Pardon? Yes, I think the Tamil word.
Have you got some breadfruit? Are you doing some breadfruit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
bread is another typical popular breakfast.
Is that south, north, which part?
South. I'm now doing more of the south, one of the which is from the north.
And then mango curry?
Yes, mango curry. Yes, mango curry. So, I mean, always in Ireland, you know, there are lots of that different, diversified cooking, if you like. So I think, as you rightly said, quickly I have to run through. I'm doing the starters, which is devil's squid, which is a Chinese bar food, or bar food, yes. I mean, because in the bar they serve it. Now almost all the hotels serve this. I'm doing the vegetarian one. Then I'm doing the chicken curry, Sri Lankan southern part of the island, chicken curry. Then I'm doing aubergine curry. Actually, you know, they are not curries. Curries are, it's a Tamil word. You know, it's a Tamil word, and the Brits, when they were there, they came over here and then they used the word curry. So the word curry in Tamil, it only applies to meat and fish. So, and then you use the curry leaf. I mean, I don't know if you want to see curry. I can pass it around and have a, that's the curry leaf. So I'm doing a chicken curry. Others are no curries. They are all dishes. There is aubergine. I'm going to do what you call the pool. It's a marrow type of vegetable. It's called the pool. I'm doing that one. What else am I doing? Yes, the aubergine. This is Tamil style.
So sorry, what's it called if it's not a curry? What's it called?
No. This is in Tamil. It's katharikai. This one. So it's just katharikai. Vandikai, it's okra, you know.
Oh, okay.
So they don't use the word curry actually. So there is a Sinhalese chicken dish, a Tamil aubergine dish, then courgette, that's kind of, again, south. What else am I doing? Cabbage, yes, that's yes, coming up. Thanks for reminding me.
That's a good one.
Yeah, cabbage is actually known as goa in Sri Lanka. Can anybody relate this word goa? Goa. Yeah. Again, the Portuguese were there in a place called Goa, and apparently the seeds were brought in from Goa to Sri Lanka, and they call it Goa. So anyway, so anything else I'm doing? Yes.
I can't remember.
Yes, and then the sambal, of course. Sambal.
Oh, and then bananas.
And that's the dessert I'm doing. And this is the aubergine. This is already fried. Actually. I mean, if time allows, and if people want to do or repeat the dishes, I'm quite happy to do that. I got it size. Yes, but this is already fried. I mean, this is the aubergine.
I think we decided everybody knew how to fry an aubergine.
Okay. So let me get I think the vegetarians must be starving. To be fair, let me get this vegetarian.
Potatoes?
Can you tell us what spices and sauces you put in the devil's squid?
Oh, okay. Spices, of course, chili powder, just to pick it up. Oh, yeah. And then we use sesame oil, a drop or two, because it's very heavy. You know, it's a heavy flavor. Then, not to mention the soy sauce to try. Yes, if you want to spice it up, because as I said, it was a bar food. So our guys there at the bar, they like a lot more spicy than I'm doing now. So obviously it goes without saying, lots of chilies. Yes, and then basically it's just a nibble. Yes.
You want it really hot?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Did you put garlic and ginger in as well?
Yes, you can. Yes, I have. Garlic and ginger. garlic and ginger paste you can add. Actually, this is cooking is that there are no real hard and fast rules. In fact, if you ask me to make the same dish in 10 minutes, I don't think I'll be able to do it. So that's cooking. I mean, it's like an artist with a paintbrush. It all depends on the color, the shape, the light, and all that. So, but in the main, it's up to the creator to create. It is a creation.
There's a saying in France.
Pardon?
There's a saying in France about a cassoulet. If you go to a village with 50 housewives,
Yeah.
you will get at least 51 recipes.
Right.
What have you just put in?
Pardon?
What have you
I just put garlic and ginger. You can pass it around. It's a paste. Some chefs prefer more of a ginger flavor coming through. Some people prefer a garlic note coming through. So
It's gone off again.
I don't know.
I know, it's annoying. There we go. It's on.
Why is the carrot and ginger green? Why is the carrot and ginger green?
That's a good question. Well, sometimes you can add coriander. That's a good question. Maybe I know why. Because the ginger might have just started growing. But that's only an explanation I can say. That's a good observation. Yeah. So.
That needs to be
I have to add some salt.
yeah, and then put it in here and then I'll get it on the plate.
I like to do this. I like to feel my salt. To my pack.
Serious.
So this is a strong stuff. This is sesame. Yes. So I'm just going to just a drop. That's enough.
Yeah, a really big bowl. Yeah, that's what. This is not having any vegetarian. Do you want me to cook that a bit over there and then you can carry on with the next thing?
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to cook some rice, plain boiled rice. The Sri Lankan or South Indian, this I call the pasta. Yeah, as opposed to, there are several ways to cook rice, and there are quite a number of variety of rice. Can anybody guess how many rice varieties are there?
Thousands.
Yes. So I'm doing the South Indian method. It's very easy to explain when I say the pasta. Basically, how you cook pasta. Boil water, and then drop in the pasta and then you drain it. So that is exactly what I'm going to do. So the rice is actually washed. quite a lot. I hope it's getting cooked there. And then I've now it's boiling. I'm not adding salt. I'm not adding salt actually. I'm just very large. Because you start to get the flavors out. If you put salt in, then your effort is kind of wasted. So anyway,
So why do you do that method rather than steam it, rather than measure out the water?
I think it's the starch, first of all, the starch stays in. And I don't know whether you know this, the rice, white rice, it's not so good for diabetic people. Because there's so much of starch and also sugar kind of. And people in that part of the world, they are prolific rice eaters. So it has to be like, they only really eat rice once, in South India, Sri Lanka. So basically that helps. And number two, you can get it absolutely right.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to steam it and, vaporize the water. So I think that is the, by the way, there are brown rice, which people, when they strain, they drink it like kind of soup.
Yeah.
If you like.
In Africa they do that.
But in Africa also. So nothing is wasted. And they put a bit of grated coconut and salt. And that keeps your tummy quiet for about 3-4 hours. Right, so let me try.
One of those things that just characterized this ginger beer. As soon as this is about
'Cause that house world, we don't even waste one single grape. That's how I was brought up. Not even one single grape. You don't throw away. I mean, if you really think about it, each grain makes a bag of rice, right? Collection of rice. So, but no food is actually wasted. No food wasted. You know these are statistics. I hope it's true. 1/3 of the food is in the Western world, the Western Hemisphere, is enough to feed a number of months for the rest of the world. There's so much waste. So
Same with the money.
so let's see what. Well, just give it a stir. Not of rice. We don't have. I've told that we don't have a dry planet.
No, we don't. It will be tricky.
Right. So while we are doing that, let's get on with the other one.
Stuff to make rice that way, and I tried to do Carol. I agree with you. It works perfectly. Every Japanese person uses a rice cooker. Every Chinese person.
Actually, I'm a big fan of this induction. I like my gas fire. So I would ask, is it working?
Is this yours you got from home?
No.
Okay, we're listening.
So this is, as you all know, it's a humble cabbage, and this is what you call the hard cabbage. So this dish, as I said, this vegetable itself was brought in by the Portuguese, by the Portuguese to Sri Lanka, or Ceylon. So they play around with vegetables. So I'm going to show you a very, very simple dish. In fact, when I talk about the vegetables which came from Europe, cabbage is one. Then, of course, we had the British influence, quite a lot of British influence. So we had leeks, we had beetroot, we had all the vegetables you see here. Carrots, of course, the carrot, beetroot,
Parsnip?
parsley.
Sweet.
Beans, of course, not the runner beans, but the other. We have our own long beans in Thailand. You might have seen that. So we cook dishes out of all these European vegetables. So when you go home tonight, don't be scared of trying out with all these vegetables. Anyway, I'm going to show you one. Just a simple one. Bit of oil. So I'm also a little health conscious, so I go slow with this oil. But you can buy cholesterol-free oil.
I don't know.
Cholesterol.
All oil is cholesterol free.
Cholesterol. Yeah, pardon? Sorry.
All oil is cholesterol free, so coconut oil.
Yes, they're saturated and unsaturated. Yes. So I think because of the quantity, I have been a little bit liberal. So I quickly need to find
What do you need?
my spice.
Oh, your spice tracing.
So, my pass is around. I think you all probably know mustard seeds. Yeah. So I'm going to put you see, in my recipe, I have mentioned the 2 spoons, 3 spoons, and so on, just to give you an idea. But I trust my fingers here. Yeah? And so I put some. I got to be. You see, the important thing in cooking is not to burn. That's the first thing, right? And then I'm going to put some cumin seeds, right? Again, just to get a feel for it, and I have a rough idea of the cabbage I have to cook. And then cumin seeds, everybody know about cumin seeds. And then his elder brother is called the fennel seed, slightly bigger. So I'm going to put as I said, I trust my touch. Then this is, and what this is. So I think this is turmeric. I'll pass it around. Turmeric. It has got a lot of antiseptic values, and I have been reading articles recently that it cures cancer and so on. But definitely it has got antiseptic value. In the sense I would prefer when I'm cooking meat and fish and so on to put this a little bit. So all these bacteria, especially tuna, it actually kills off the whatever the undesirable substances in there. So, and then I'm going to add a little bit of. Actually, please don't use. You probably remember what I said, what I talked about.
Oh God, no, I don't.
Yeah. So, don't use too much of this because this does not help. What is it? But it's not good for your libido. So you want to be very careful. Right. So go slowly on this because you see South India, I think Kerala and Sri Lanka, Sri Lanka, the south, they tend to use quite a bit of this. I don't know why. Even if there are any Gujarati people from Gujarat, they also tend to use quite a bit of this. But it is actually compensated by coriander leaves. Coriander leaves, not the. It neutralizes. And so my first brother-in-law is a pharmacist or chemist, I should say. So while I'm talking, you know, if you allow me to talk, I'll keep on talking all evening. So you have to remark me. Come on, get on with you know, the food. We are hungry or something. So I'm going to put some desiccated coconut. Again, you can buy this. It's not an issue. So all the supermarkets have got all the ingredients I've got. So I'm going to just add a bit of this. Give it a bit of a stir, and you will get the aroma of the coconut coming through. So it all depends. I didn't measure it. You see, I'm just looking there, looking here, and just guessing. Right. So you know, cooking is like chemistry. You know, I did a little bit of chemistry in my school days. I thought, what a waste, you know, of time in the laboratory. But it has come useful to understand in the kitchen. There's a bit of chemistry going on, you know, when you put this in, put things in, and I think you might have read a little bit of the notice when it was published about this class. How many what do you call it? Buds. How many? No, buds, thousands actually, but what do you call it? Census.
5.
Anybody?
7.
5?
Sweet, sour, salty.
6. And what else? 7. Okay, I'll come to the 7th one. What's the 6th one? I mean, lots of people know the first one. And come, somebody start. Salt. I'll start with salt. Okay.
Sweet.
Salt. Yes, sweet.
Then sour.
Then sour. There's something called astringent. I don't know whether you know it. Yeah. And what's the 7th one?
Sweet and sour.
Sweet and sour. Yeah, we mentioned sweet and sour. Oh, sorry. I
Do you want me to take it down? It's really difficult to manage.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm going to. Yeah, it's called the. Have you all heard about what is this?
You take a face white.
Ajinomoto had, what do you call it? My arm is weak. Yes, I think there's another flavor which was actually concocted, should I use the word, in a laboratory. A gentleman by the Japanese gentleman by the name of Mr. Ajinomoto, Mr. Ajinomoto. So that's a taste they talk about. Incidentally, the question was asked: Do I any MSG in this? The answer is no. None. So I think.
Is it gone off again?
Yeah. So again.
Okay.
Do you ever use olive oil, or is it always sunflower oil?
You can use actually sunflower oil. You know, the olive oil burns quickly.
Yeah.
So I would use just I think this
Is it
is
gone
plain.
off again?
Yeah.
So what?
Just cook it a little bit.
Okay. Do you want me to take it over then and finish it? Do you do something else? Okay.
Just a dash of water. And that's it. Of course, we have to put lime. That's a must. Lime. How many of you use lime? Lemon, not lemon, lime? I think, how do you choose your lime?
Scratch the skin.
Pardon?
Scratch the skin. Scratch the skin.
Yeah. The skin has to be smooth. Really smooth. Can you, I don't know if I show you. My sister-in-law was kind enough to me to know how to choose. The skin has to be very, very smooth. As you can see, this is very rough. And the second one is once you buy this, you roll this, give it a roll. So you are releasing all the, you could do with for the lemon as well, no problem. So
Is the smoother one riper?
it's juicier, I find it really juicier. Because of this rough skin, I find that not much juice in it. Right? Right, okay, you have to do this. So I'll get on with the other one. This is, oh my God, I nearly forgot this. No dinner. I think somebody has to give me a hand.
Anybody up front? Thank you.
Anybody? You
There's
need
some-
a commander.
That's going to be a
And you
challenge.
need a...
This is it. This is all we've got.
No problem.
Which you need?
I'll just remember.
What do you need?
Nothing.
Do you want to all put it into that? I see what you mean. Clever.
Could I have a quick name from this one?
Yeah. Maddie?
Do we need anything to put anything in the rice? Doesn't get all up here.
Okay, is there, do you want to ask if somebody has any questions?
What I'm doing, I think I have only one more dish to do, I think. Any questions? If you, how did, yes?
Why can you use desiccated coconut rather than the real thing? Doesn't desiccated coconut, is it too sweet?
No sugar added.
So if it's by desiccating it, the sugar is crystallized.
I think the desiccated actually, they squeeze the milk out and they produce this. Can you hear?
But if you had fresh, would you use that?
Yes, if you have fresh. But actually, when I come to think of it, fresh has so much of fat in it. So this you squeeze, take the top cream out of it, and use the second bit. I would go for that.
So you always use
I find no problem with that at all. The sambal is done, and hardly people could say that we have used the desiccated or the fresh. The fresh, the idea.
But in Sri Lanka you use the fresh.
Fresh, because you have the manpower and the gadgets to bake the fresh and so on, yes. But when I come to India, it's not so healthy. So, by the way, I'm going to do this pool curry or kusher curry. There's plenty left. I can do another round of starters. I'll come to the. Let me get through the recipe. So, okay.
You have Chinese shops in my frozen.
Just give me a box, I guess.
have some plastic and they
Can you tell me what a typical family meal consists of? I mean, if this is, you're doing lots of dishes, what would say, I mean, I don't know if it's Sunday lunch is the family time or something, or Friday, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
What would it consist of?
Predominantly, I would say the South Kerala, we are not a great meat eater. It's a very occasional. On a weekend, yes, maybe a chicken, maybe a lamb. I like pork. I eat pork, but not in the house. It's all kinds to do with kind of beef and all that. But our typical meal would consist of course, rice, and there'll be either a fish dish or a chicken dish.
So what fish would it be? Is it seafood, what fish would it be?
Oh, fish surrounded by lots of fish. I think the number one fish I would say is it's called jackfish. It's called parade. That is in Tamil. And then you have there's another fish called, in English it's kingfish. Actually that's a translation. That's called arukula or thora in English. Pomfret is it's there, but it's not caught a lot like some parts of the Indian subcontinent. So typically it will be a fish curry and a fried fish. Some other fried fish like sprats or anchovies, or even these big fish cut into small chunks fried. So that's the main one. Then it will be accompanied by 2 or 3 vegetables on the same plate.
What are we going to cook next?
Okay. I know. Thank you for keep an eye on the time. Right. So I'm going to do the poo. It's called poo. Courgette, we have similar vegetables in Sri Lanka. It's very marrowy vegetable. And again, you can play with it. And the nearest marrow vegetable I could think of is pumpkin. Very close to it. And there are a few others,
How do you spell that word that you said the name of
Courgette, it's a bunny. Oh, yes, over poo. P-H-O-O-L. Yeah. Right. So that's what I'm going to cook now. And again, some mustard seeds, fennel, and then it all depends on the spice level you want. Again, I'm going to add some of that.
What are they?
Just now it's dry chili. Dry chili. Right.
Something between fennel and chili.
Pardon?
Is there something else for fennel?
Yes, something else? No, I added fennel and cumin. Something else. Right. So I'm going to add some. This time keeps going. I must confess, I'm not.
Why don't you cook it over there?
But
Because then it's got us back to you. It's we'll get there. It's just being temperamental.
That's what
So I'm going to add some chopped. The recipes will be with you. Laura assures me that it will be with you.
Do you want me to?
Oh, it's ready. Not to. I think we are there, right?
Yeah, so you do that.
Yeah. So I added some chopped onion and Oh yes, I have to do this. Yes, I have to do the.
I touched the wrong button in the oven. Yeah, I pulled it off. I turned the oven off by mistake.
Yeah, you feel like, oh, okay, it's, yeah,
Is that, yeah?
it's cooling off.
Sorry.
No, that's right, I couldn't figure what the fuck
This is
was.
going off again. This is going off. I'm adding some turmeric. Again, you know, I'm not a fan of turmeric, but anyway, you need to put that in. And then I need some coconut.
You need some coconut milk on it.
This is right. I won't go mad with sauteing. You know, I like it crisp and right. I think there's a bit of. You see, I talked about chemistry. There's what do you call it? The hotness, yeah, and there is pungency there in the onion. So you bring, then I'm going to add some salt, then I'm going to add some coconut milk. You know, the taste-wise, there are few things happening. The chemistry. You know, so I'm going to add some to it. It's already cut. I like my vegetables crispy, not overcooked. You know, you've got to have that bite. You bite it, you have to have that sensation. Right. You know that salt there? Because salt I always try to put it towards the end.
Yes, I know there's salt in the fire, but a bit more. I know there's salt in the lamb.
Yes, about salt, I think using journalism, I don't know whether you watch Thirsty Walk. Channel news line. One day she cooked a dish or dishes to a world famous, if not the best chef. I only briefly saw, but no, this guy was a Spanish chef. And she cooked the food and she was interviewing that way and asked the question, what's the best ingredient you use? And guess what he said? Salt. So I think it matters. I tend to use sea salt. I'm not promoting any particular brand here. Salt. Yeah? Sea salt. So this is again a very, very simple dish. You could pick up these vegetables at your local supermarket. Nothing so serious. You know, you don't have to go to the grocery to look for the ingredients you need. Right. So this even coconut milk you can find in your local supermarket now. You know, it's and you have to tend to shake it. You know, Laura has a worried face now, so I better hurry up. So just two or three. You see, if not coconut milk, please do add ordinary milk. No harm. And if you have no milk, towards the end, but once it softens up, add yogurt. You know, plain natural yogurt. It comes out really nice once you do that. So anyway, so let me put the salt and give it to you as before. Yeah. And this is somebody else's salt, but anyway,
That's
sea
fine,
salt.
yeah, that's fine.
So again, right?
Do you want me to finish over there?
So please. So that leaves me with. Yes, aubergine. With this dish, you can eat plates of rice. You know, it's so there are some vegetarians here, so I have to be careful. I'm going to use, coming from the islands, you know, some dry anchovies. You know, it really lifts it up. And probably, if you are not a seafood fan, you may run through that way or that way. It's very, very strong. Okay, Right. So, where are we now? Yes. I think I need the tamarind.
The tamarins.
So I need some onion and spice.
Yeah.
I'll keep this in case they want me to do just one. Okay, I like this one.
Just halves?
No, just one.
Okay.
This, while she's doing that, aubergine is such a versatile vegetable. My best favorite. I mean, if you ask me, choose the best. This must be it.
Which aubergines do you use in Lanka? Because you have smaller ones, so it's...
Yes. I think it's called, it's, you have got the long ones, and this is actually Dutch one. Dutch, they're very, very good. Growing these tropical vegetables in-house. You must have heard Cyrus Todiwala?
Oh, yes.
How many have this? Yes. I was there, I know him, and he told me that in the UK now they are growing, they are growing green chilies. I was wondering why, if Holland can grow aubergine, why not in England? I mean, I don't think they're still doing that. So there's a subtle difference in that. I don't know what the fertilizer they use for in-house farming, but you can always lift it up. Lift up this vegetable. You can do so many things with it. So many different styles. You can. So I'm going to show you one particular style, which is actually a must at a wedding ceremony. This is. But having said that, usually the Hindu weddings they don't use.
It's not going to take that pan. Can you use this one?
So what's happened to the aubergine? Is it just been fried?
Pardon?
The aubergine's just been fried?
Fried, yes. You cut it into cubes. As I said, I got some. I can show you if you really want me to show. Time permitting. I'm kind of available here. So you cut it into cubes and fry. So it's a huge subject. I mean, cooking. I have raised the question when people say Indian food or Indian cooking. I think people are now realizing, that area is such a vast area. It's almost like saying European cooking. So European cooking can start north of, I don't know, Norway or Sweden, and north of Norway or Sweden, and it can go all the way down to Italy. I mean, all the way down to Corsica, I think. It's so. I mean, I don't know how many of you know the history of the Indian subcontinent and the British involvement there. They were all kingdoms, little kingdoms like Scotland. No, give you an idea, just a small idea. Like Scotland, Wales. And England. So, I mean, there are about 26 states were there, they were all kings and maharajas. And the East India Company went, and of course they went for business, and they got political, and it was taken over by the Parliament, and the Queen Victoria decided to bring it into it. So if you go into these regions, they are very, very different. So I would prefer to call today's India, I don't want to get too political here, it's a union of nations, union of kingdoms.
What about Lanka?
Yes, in fact, even in Sri Lanka, there were two kingdoms. That's the problem now. So, without getting too emotional on that, so that's what really happened. So now it is relevant because of the food, and that's how I bring in the food angle. The village to village is different, and kingdom to kingdom is different. So somebody says Indian cooking. I mean, that to me is like saying European cooking. So there are now 28 states, and some are joining, and some are trying to leave.
So what do you turmeric, onion?
Yes, mustard seed, turmeric, onion, and yes, I shouldn't burn it. Right. So the more I will give you the recipe. I mean, as we talk, it's basically mustard seed, a little bit of turmeric, a little bit of cinnamon. It is not complicated. So my mission is actually demystify the Asian food. Okay. So.
Do you use as much ghee as they do in
No, I didn't touch ghee at all.
In Sri Lanka,
No, just coconut oil. Ghee is, I don't know, it's further north. And in a dal dish, they just put a teaspoon. That is why the dal is served on that dish. Right. So, okay. So now, this is the secret ingredient here. So I have put the tamarind to soak. Tamarind, in Thailand and South India, we use quite a lot of that. So I have actually soaked it.
How long do you soak it for? It's quite
If you put it in hot, kind of boil it. Yeah, you put it about at least half an hour, then it's easy and it becomes like this.
You can order it fresh.
Pardon?
You can get fresh tamarind pods.
Yes. But I have not seen them using that. You have to get the pulp. So inside you will see seeds.
Yeah.
Some brands are there. They have taken the seeds out and selling the
It's not very good though.
Pardon?
It's very acidic.
Yes. So and also even in tamarind, my grandmother would go and buy. This is very dark. Can you see this? And if you put it into curries, the curry is going to be dark. I mean, no harm in that. Some people would prefer to be kind of brownish, and there are brown ones as well. So, anyway, so this is. So that's what I've got. And you can sugar. So this is now sour. What I put in is sour because it's tamarind. So I'm going to kind of neutralize it a little bit with a bit of sugar, brown sugar. Oh, by the way, the sugar I'm using is no, I got a packet. That's unrefined. So any vegans can use that because it's not refined. So actually, almost all the food except of course the chicken and. Just a little bit. Just a dash only. Again, I will put.
Do you ever use palm sugar?
Sorry?
Do you ever use palm sugar?
Yes, you can buy palm sugar.
Instead of this?
You can, yes. You can even use white sugar because, Lanka told me that there are some vegans and vegetarians coming, so I don't want to make it complicated. So I have added some sugar. So sweet and sour there. Right. Then I'm going to add coconut milk. I think I'm going to use the whole lot for this. Right. So you can.
When you use the tamarind, do you just use the water? You don't use the pulp?
No, because pulp is it'll stay in your mouth. I think it's difficult to cook. Right. I think it's. Right. I'm going to add a bit of salt. Add a bit of chili powder. Right? So how many tastes have gone in? How many taste buds have been satisfying now? Sweet, sour, and right. Yeah, and you can add. I like the curry to be a bit crushed. Crush it like that, and so it releases the flavors, right? And, right, let it cook, and all I have to do is just taste it. Sugar, of course, salt, of course. I am going to, yeah, just going by. So let it actually boil a little bit. Then I'm going to taste for it, and if I'm happy, then I'm going to add that. And that's it. It's done. Yeah.
Are we done with the demos now?
I think so.
Yeah, and then we just put that.
And then there's a banana pickle.
Yeah, we'll do that.
later.
Yeah, we'll make.
So, while it's the, anybody fancy some more squid? You can do that. Yes. So you have enough things to go on. I'll do some. Yeah. Anyone come and have a look around here, look and see how it's simmering and so on. Yeah. And
From all over Europe, cooked dishes with Moroccan ingredients. So Moroccan